Hey everybody, KC here. So one of the industries that was hardest hit by the pandemic was the wedding industry, right? For the most part, people had to cancel, postpone their weddings. Sometimes they did much smaller than they were intending. And the people who depended on weddings for their livelihoods, man, they had a really tough last 14, 16 months. Now some of that seems to be coming back as regulations and guidance are relaxed. Um, but the New York Times has a really interesting piece about how one industry right now is capitalizing on the fact that there's still a lot of people out there leery about getting together in big groups inside halls, inside restaurants, that sort of thing. And that's the food truck business. That where food trucks occasionally would show up at weddings and, to give people treats as they were leaving. Now, as the Times says, they're sort of the main course. And there are all these really fancy food trucks that have developed offerings that are perfect for people who want to get outside, have a wedding outside, but they don't want to have sort of the same more formal offerings that normally weddings would have. There was one called the Cousin's Maine Lobster. And, they bring everything from lobster rolls to lobster tater tots to lobster tacos to lobster grilled cheese sandwiches, which sounds really, really good. There's another one that specializes in desserts. It's called Tipsy Cones Ice Cream. And they bring all sorts of really fancy ice creams to people's weddings. There was another one called the Shuckin' Truck. And that's oysters and clams and shrimp and things like that. Again, what people would very often do is they might actually have 2 or 3 trucks show up at their wedding. So one might be for drinks, one might be for the main course, one might be for dessert. It's just coming at it with something different. There's another one called the Silver Cloud Prosecco Van. That sounds like a lot of fun. Listen, it points to how people have pivoted once again, and that's a word I think we're probably all going to get tired of at some point. But I'm going to stick with it because I think it's the best word to describe what's going on. Companies are pivoting to create new offerings that seem suitable for this strange sort of after times. We're not quite to the after times yet, but these after times in which we're existing at the moment. And that's what food trucks are doing. And listen, I've always been a big fan of food trucks. I've been writing here for years that I didn't understand why every supermarket doesn't have a food truck that they can send out to various places to be an ambassador, actually make some money. They could use food trucks to go to baseball games, little league games, go down to the local train station when people come home from work. There's lots of ways to use food trucks to kind of raise your footprint, raise your banner. There are people using modified food trucks to actually make deliveries and then be able to sell other things out of those food trucks while they're making deliveries of orders that have been placed online. We've talked about that. That's a company called Fleet that's doing that. And listen, I think this is what companies have to do. They have to think differently and act differently going forward to increase their footprint, bring a little something different to their marketing efforts, and just get out there. Don't just don't rely on the way you've traditionally done business. I got to tell you, this Maine lobster thing, I wish they'd had that when I got married. That really, let me say, if I'd said, ooh, I think we could have a lobster food truck at our wedding, that would have totally cemented the deal. On the other hand, tomorrow is my 38th wedding anniversary, and we didn't have a lobster truck, so I guess maybe we didn't need it after all. Still sounds like it would have been fun. Anyway, that's what's on my mind this morning. I hope you have a great weekend, and as always, I want to hear what's on your mind.